At family dinner, my sister slapped me and snarled, "You've got 5 minutes to get out of my house." Mom and Dad laughed, clapping in support. I smiled, pulled out a file, slammed it on the table, and said, "Then you all only have 2 minutes." I, 32M, sat at my sister's dining table, surrounded by the people who were supposed to be my family, and watched as everything I'd carefully planned for months finally came together. The slap came out of nowhere. One moment I was quietly eating the roast chicken she'd prepared, and the next, my face was stinging, my head turned to the side from the force of it. My sister stood over me, her face twisted with that familiar contempt I'd grown accustomed to over the years. She told me I had 5 minutes to get out of her house. Not asked, told, like I was some vagrant who'd wandered in off the street. What made it worse was the sound that followed. Laughter. Mom's high-pitched giggle mixing with Dad's deep chuckle. Then came the clapping, slow and mocking, as if I'd just performed some comedy routine for their entertainment. My brother-in-law sat there with a smirk, arms crossed, clearly enjoying the show. Even my younger brother, who I'd once thought might be different, was grinning into his wine glass. I should mention how I got here. Not to this dinner, but to this moment in my life where my own family treated me like garbage while treating my sister like royalty. It started when I was 12 and she was 15. That's when the favoritism became impossible to ignore. She got the car for her 16th birthday. I got a used bicycle for mine. She got a fully funded college education at a private university. I got told there wasn't enough money left, so I'd need to work and take out loans for community college. She got the down payment for her first house. I got advice about budgeting. The excuses were always the same. She was the oldest. She needed more support. She had a harder time. She was starting a family. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs through college, graduated with debt, and clawed my way up from nothing. But I never complained. I kept my head down, worked hard, and built something for myself. I became a commercial real estate analyst, then moved into property development. I was good at it. Really good. Within 8 years, I'd paid off my loans, bought my own place, and started investing in properties. My sister, on the other hand, married a middle manager at a tech company and became a stay-at-home mom. Nothing wrong with that, except she acted like she'd built an empire. Every family gathering became a showcase for her perfect life, her perfect house, her perfect kids. And our parents ate it up, constantly praising her choices while barely acknowledging anything I accomplished. The real turning point came 2 years ago. Dad got sick. Nothing terminal, but serious enough that he needed expensive treatment. The insurance covered most of it, but there were gaps. Big ones. When the family sat down to discuss it, everyone looked at me. Not asked. Just looked. Like it was obvious I'd pay. I did pay. $70,000. I liquidated investments, delayed projects, and put my own plans on hold. And when Dad recovered, he thanked my sister for being there emotionally. Didn't mention me once at his welcome home party. That's when I started paying attention, really paying attention, to the little comments. The way they'd talk about dividing their estate in front of me, casually mentioning it was all going to my sister because she had kids and I didn't. The way they'd ask me for money but never ask her for anything. The way every conversation somehow became about her achievements and my shortcomings. 6 months ago, I discovered something interesting. Mom and Dad had purchased the house my sister lived in. Not just helped with a down payment. Purchased it outright. Put it in her name. A 4-bedroom colonial in a premium neighborhood. Worth about $800,000. They'd told me they couldn't help with my student loans because they'd already stretched themselves thin helping her. I hired a forensic accountant. Cost me 15 grand, but worth every penny. Turns out, over 18 years, my parents had given my sister just over $1.2 million in various forms. Down payment, car payments, credit card debt, vacations, private school for her kids, the house. They'd given me approximately $18,000. Birthday gifts, Christmas money. That's it. But here's where it got interesting. 3 months ago, Dad asked me for another loan. $50,000. Said he and Mom wanted to take my sister's family on a European vacation for their 20th anniversary. A gift. He actually used the word investment, like spending 50 grand on my sister was somehow for everyone's benefit. I told him I'd think about it. Instead, I did something else. I made some calls. See, the house my parents bought for my sister? They'd mortgaged their own house to do it. Took out a home equity line of credit. They'd been making minimum payments, and with interest, They now owed about $900,000 on a house worth maybe $700. They were underwater and sinking. I found out they'd missed 3 payments. The bank was moving toward foreclosure proceedings. They hadn't told anyone. Probably thought they'd figured out a solution, which apparently involved asking me for more money. I bought the debt. It took some maneuvering, some connections in the finance world, but I bought it. The bank was happy to offload a bad loan to someone willing to pay cash. Cost me $850,000, but I owned the paper on my parents' house. Then I did more digging. My brother-in-law's company, going through layoffs. He was on the list. I knew someone in their HR department. He'd be let go within the month, with a severance package that wouldn't last long given their spending habits. My sister's car? Leased. In Dad's name. He was co-signer on 3 of her credit cards, which were maxed out. He was on the hook for about $60,000 in her debt. My younger brother, the golden boy who'd been handed a job at Dad's friend's company, about to be fired for incompetence and attendance issues. I knew this because I'd become friendly with someone on the board. Everything was falling apart for them. They just didn't know it yet. And they certainly didn't know I was the one holding all the cards. Which brings me back to that dinner. The slap. The laughter. The clapping. My sister standing over me, telling me to get out. I smiled. I actually smiled, which seemed to confuse them. Then I reached into my jacket and pulled out a manila folder. I'd been carrying it all night, waiting for the right moment. This was better than anything I could have scripted. I slammed it on the table. The dishes rattled. The laughter stopped. I told them they had 2 minutes. Not 5. 2. Dad asked what I was talking about. His voice had that edge of annoyance, like I was being dramatic. Mom told me to stop making a scene. My sister demanded to know what was in the folder. I opened it slowly, pulled out the first document, the deed to their house. Except now it showed that I owned the note. I explained in very simple terms that they'd missed 4 payments now, and as the new holder of their debt, I was accelerating the loan. Full payment due in 30 days, or I'd foreclose. The color drained from Dad's face. Mom grabbed his arm, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. My sister snatched the paper from the table, reading it with growing horror. I pulled out the second document. A detailed accounting of every dollar they'd given my sister versus what they'd given me. $1.2 million to $18,000. I'd had it professionally prepared, notarized, with receipts and bank statements highlighted. I told them I was suing for financial elder abuse and discrimination. I had enough evidence to make their lives very difficult, and whether I won or not, the legal fees alone would bankrupt them. My sister started screaming, called me every name in the book, said I was being spiteful and cruel. My brother-in-law stood up, trying to be threatening, but I didn't even look at him. I pulled out the third document. Layoff notice. His name on it. Effective 2 weeks from now. I told him I'd made some calls, and his severance package was going to be contested due to some questionable expense reports he'd filed. They'd find discrepancies. Whether real or not didn't matter. The company would tie him up in arbitration for months. He wouldn't see that money for a long time, if at all. He sat back down, suddenly much quieter. I turned to my younger brother, told him his job was gone too. His boss had finally had enough of covering for him. He'd be let go by the end of the week. No severance. Just a box for his desk items and an escort to the parking lot. He called me a liar. Said I was making it up. I shrugged, told him to wait and see. Then I turned back to my sister. The house. Her precious house that she loved to show off, that she used to host these humiliating dinners. I told her that since it was purchased with money from a fraudulent loan, and since Mom and Dad were about to lose everything, she might want to start looking at apartments. Because when I foreclosed on them, I'd be coming for any assets they'd transferred to hide from creditors. That included her house. She collapsed into her chair. Actually collapsed. Started crying. The ugly kind of crying where your face gets all red and splotchy. She looked at Mom and Dad, waiting for them to fix this, to make it better like they always did. But they couldn't. They just sat there, frozen. Mom finally spoke up, asked how I could do this to family. The irony wasn't lost on me. I asked her how she could have done what she did to me for 32 years. How she could have watched them give everything to my sister while I struggled. How she could have laughed when my sister slapped me. She didn't have an answer. Dad tried a different approach. Said we could work this out. Said I was being emotional. That I'd regret this. I told him I'd never been more clear-headed in my life. That I'd spent months planning this. That every move I'd made was calculated and legal. And that I'd given them chance after chance to treat me like I mattered, and they'd chosen not to. I stood up. Grabbed my folder. Told them the clock was ticking. They had 2 minutes, but I was leaving now. They could use that time however they wanted. To keep laughing, to keep clapping, or to start figuring out how they were going to survive what was coming. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. Got in my car. Drove home. Slept better that night than I had in years. The fallback was immediate. My phone blew up. Texts, calls, voicemails. My sister begging. My parents demanding. My brother-in-law threatening legal action. My younger brother calling me every name he could think of. I blocked them all. 3 days later, I got a call from a lawyer, representing my parents, threatening to sue me for emotional distress and extortion. I laughed, told my own lawyer, who sent back a response that essentially said bring it on. We had documentation of everything. They had empty threats. A week after the dinner, my brother-in-law got his layoff notice. Just like I'd said, my sister called from a number I hadn't blocked yet, screaming that I'd ruined their lives. I reminded her that I hadn't made them live beyond their means. I hadn't made her husband file fraudulent expense reports. That was all them. I just stopped protecting them from consequences. 2 weeks later, my younger brother was fired. He showed up at my office. Security stopped him in the lobby. He stood there yelling about how I'd sabotaged him, how I'd destroyed his career. I watched from the window 3 floors up. Didn't feel good exactly, but didn't feel bad either. At the 30-day mark, my parents couldn't pay. Of course they couldn't. I started foreclosure proceedings. They tried to negotiate. Wanted a payment plan. Wanted mercy. I offered them one option: sign over my sister's house to me, acknowledge the financial discrimination in writing, and I'd consider restructuring their debt at a rate they could actually afford. They refused. Pride, I guess. Or maybe they still thought I'd back down. That family meant I'd eventually cave. I didn't. Update 1. It's been 3 months since that dinner. The foreclosure is moving forward. My parents hired a lawyer who's trying every delay tactic in the book, but it's just postponing the inevitable. They're going to lose the house. I've already lined up a buyer, a developer who wants to tear it down and build a duplex. I'll make a small profit, but that was never the point. My sister's marriage is falling apart. My brother-in-law still hasn't found work. He's drowning in anger and taking it out on her. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that they're in counseling, but it's not going well. She's had to get a job for the first time in 15 years. Retail. Part-time. She hates it. They're trying to sell the house, but they can't. It's in her name, but the purchase was fraudulent, tied to my parents' bad debt. I've put a lien on it. It's not going anywhere until this is all settled, and my terms are the only ones on the table. My younger brother moved back in with my parents. 3 adults crammed into a house they're about to lose, all blaming each other, all blaming me. He sent me an email last week. Long rambling. Half apology, half accusation. Said I'd become everything I claimed to hate about them. Said I was destroying the family. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. He was wrong, but explaining why would be pointless. The interesting thing about burning bridges is discovering who's standing on the other side. A few cousins reached out. Turns out I wasn't the only one who'd noticed the favoritism. Wasn't the only one who'd watched my sister get everything while everyone else got excuses. They didn't support what I was doing exactly, but they understood it. One of them told me that at a recent family gathering I wasn't invited to, the whole thing imploded. My parents tried to play the victim, painting me as this vindictive monster. But someone asked the wrong question. How much money had they actually given my sister over the years? And when the number came out, the room went silent. Because everyone suddenly realized they'd been watching it happen too. They just never added it up. Update 2. 6 months now. The foreclosure finalized. My parents lost the house. They're renting a 2-bedroom apartment in a part of town they used to look down on. Dad had to take a part-time job. He's 71. Mom is furious, but there's nothing she can do. Their retirement is gone, spent on maintaining my sister's lifestyle. My sister's house is next. The legal proceedings are slower because it's more complicated, but my lawyers say it's just a matter of time. She knows it too. She's already looking at rental properties, smaller places far from the neighborhood she loved so much. Her kids are angry. They don't fully understand, but they know their life is changing, and they blame her. My brother-in-law left. Didn't even try to work it out. Just packed a bag one day and moved in with a friend. Filed for divorce 2 weeks later. My sister is alone with 2 teenagers, a job that barely pays her bills, and the reality that the life she thought was secure was built on sand. My younger brother found work. Minimum wage. Lives with a roommate now. Doesn't contact me. Doesn't contact any of the family as far as I know. Just disappeared into his new life, probably hoping everyone will forget. People ask me if I feel guilty, if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled things differently. The truth? Some days I do feel something. Not guilt exactly. More like the weight of understanding that I made choices that can't be unmade. That I took a nuclear option when maybe there were other paths. But then I remember that slap. The laughter. The clapping. The 32 years of being treated like I didn't matter. And I remember that I gave them chances. So many chances. Every time I succeeded despite their neglect, I could have cut them off. Every time they asked for money, I could have said no. Every time they celebrated my sister while ignoring me, I could have walked away. I didn't. I stayed. I helped. I tried. And they responded by laughing when my sister slapped me at dinner. So no, I don't regret it. I gave them 2 minutes. That was more than they gave me. Update 3. It's been a year. The dust has settled in the way dust settles over ruins. My parents live in that apartment. Dad works part-time at a hardware store. Mom volunteers at a church. They don't have much, but they have enough. Barely. They stopped reaching out months ago. No more angry calls. No more lawyers. Just silence. My sister lost the house. It was messy and expensive and exactly as difficult as my lawyers predicted. She's in a rental now. 2 bedrooms for her and both kids. She's working full-time as an office administrator. Her ex-husband pays minimal child support when he remembers. She's learning what I learned at 18. That life doesn't owe you anything. My younger brother is still out there somewhere. I heard he moved to a different state. Started over. Maybe that's for the best. As for me, I bought a new property last month. A small commercial building that I'm converting into mixed-use space. The investment is solid. The returns will be good. I'm dating someone now. She knows the story. All of it. She says I did what I had to do. I think she might be right. Sometimes I drive past my parents' old house. It's gone now. Torn down. The duplex is under construction. Modern design. Clean lines. It'll sell for twice what my parents paid for the original property. The developer is happy. I made a profit. Everyone wins except the people who thought they could treat me like nothing for 32 years. I saw my sister once, by accident. Grocery store. We made eye contact across the produce section. She looked older. Tired. For a second, I thought she might come over. Say something. But she just turned and walked away. Maybe she's learned that some things can't be fixed with words. I bought my groceries and went home. Cooked dinner. Watched a movie. Slept well. People who hear the story want a moral. Want me to say I learned something about family or forgiveness or being the bigger person. But the truth is simpler than that. I learned that being family doesn't give you a free pass to treat people like garbage. I learned that sometimes the only way to stop being a victim is to become someone they can't ignore. And I learned that 2 minutes was generous. They had 32 years to treat me like I mattered. I gave them 2 minutes to leave. In the end, I'm the one who got to walk away with my head high and my life intact. That slap was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because it was the moment I stopped hoping they'd change and started taking control of my own story. And that story doesn't include them anymore. If you like this story, please like this video and subscribe us for more such real life-based stories. Thanks in advance.